The Dark Days. Facts about the most heinous terrorist attacks in history. Throughout history, there have been dark moments when violence stripped humanity of its innocence. These moments, defined by acts of terror, have left societies scarred while profoundly shaping the global landscape. Our purpose is not to sensationalize these atrocities, but to analyze their events, causes, and after-effects. Terrorism is not merely an act of violence. It is a calculated tactic designed to induce fear, disrupt societies, and often push an ideological or political agenda. Whether driven by politics, religion, or social extremism, these attacks are intended to wreak havoc, destabilize countries, and often create division. Its far-reaching consequences extend beyond physical destruction. Terrorist attacks fracture communities, devastate economies, and leave deep psychological wounds. By understanding these atrocities, we gain insight into how and why such horrific events occur, helping us to build a more resilient and united global society. Few events compare in scale and impact to September 11, 2001. On that grim morning, 19 hijackers from the terrorist group Al-Qaeda executed a meticulously planned attack, flying planes into the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon, and attempting to strike another high-profile target, likely the White House or US Capitol. The Twin Towers collapse killed nearly 3,000 people and injured thousands more, marking the deadliest terrorist act in human history. Beyond the immediate devastation, 9/11s reshaped global defenses, leading to the war on terror, new surveillance protocols, and the invasion of Afghanistan. This attack wasn't confined to US soil. Its aftershocks were felt worldwide, altering the definition of security forever. What remains haunting for many is the footage of the towers falling, a visual reminder of how a single act of calculated violence can destabilize global structures and humanity's sense of security. In 1972, the world gathered in Munich, Germany, to celebrate the Olympics, a symbol of peace and unity. What unfolded during those games, however, was unthinkable. Palestinian militant group Black September infiltrated the Olympic Village, capturing 11 Israeli athletes. Their demand: the release of 234 prisoners held in Israeli jails. Negotiations stretched long, but the rescue attempt ended in a massacre. The athletes, the perpetrators, and a German police officer were killed in the chaos of gunfire and grenades. For many, this event was a brutal awakening that even symbols of global harmony could not escape the reach of terrorism. The Munich massacre forever changed event security. The Olympics became a militarized zone in future games, leaving behind an enduring reminder that terrorism knows no boundaries. In November 2008, the bustling city of Mumbai, India, was plunged into chaos as 10 gunmen from the terror group Lashkar-e-Taiba carried out a series of coordinated attacks. Their targets: luxury hotels, train stations, a cafe, a Jewish center, venues teeming with innocent civilians. Over 170 people were killed and more than 300 injured in the three-day spree. The attackers were young but brutal, instilling fear even in the most resilient of cities. Mumbai, a city often called indomitable, was transformed into a battlefield. It became a case study in urban terrorism, exposing vulnerabilities in urban security and police response. This attack emphasized how a small, determined group could hold a city captive, a lesson security forces across the world would soon incorporate into their defenses. Terrorism often carries the image of international danger, but it can arise from within as well. On April 19, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing shocked the United States. Timothy McVeigh, a U.S. Army veteran harboring anti-government sentiment, detonated a truck bomb outside the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. The explosion killed 168 people, including children in a daycare center. Targeting his own countrymen, McVeigh's act shed light on the dangerous rise of far-right extremism in the United States. It demonstrated that homegrown terrorism could be as deadly as international attacks. For years, the echoes of children's laughter turned silent at this site, leaving a profound hole in the nation's psyche. A brisk November evening in 2015 started like countless others in Paris, but it ended in unprecedented horror. Coordinated attacks hit multiple locations, including cafes, a soccer stadium, and the Bataclan Theatre, where 89 people were massacred during a concert, ISIS claimed responsibility, calling it retribution for France's involvement in military operations in Syria. These attacks exposed weaknesses in refugee programs, sparked intense debates, and further divided Europe's political landscape. Paris, known as the City of Light, faced one of its darkest nights. The tragedy reinforced the fragility of peace in an ever-connected and volatile world. On Easter Sunday, April 21, 2019, Sri Lanka woke to unimaginable horror. A series of suicide bombings targeted churches and luxury hotels, killing over 260 people, including tourists and worshippers attending Easter services. The bombings were carried out by a local Islamist extremist group, influenced by ISIS ideology. The attackers aimed to exploit religious divisions within Sri Lanka, a country still recovering from its decades-long civil war. The bombings reignited fears of communal violence, unraveling the fragile threads of harmony between religious groups. This devastating event serves as a reminder that extremist ideologies thrive on exploitation of societal divides. Each of these tragedies carried consequences far beyond their immediate tolls. Around the world, counter-terrorism policies became a high priority. Surveillance programs were expanded, air travel faced increasing scrutiny, and intelligence-gathering networks grew stronger. However, such responses came with unintended consequences. Critics often point to infringements on privacy, disproportionate targeting of certain communities, and the unchecked growth of government power. In many ways, the ripple effects of terror extend indirectly into how societies function today, long after the initial tragedy. Amid the rubble of terrorism, there are always stories of survival, healing, and resilience that shine through. Communities torn apart have rebuilt stronger, victims have become advocates for peace, and tragedies have been observed with poignant memorials to honor lost lives. Consider survivors of the 9/11 attacks, who continue telling their stories to remind future generations of the stakes. Or the families of victims in the Oklahoma City bombing, who have turned the memorial site into a quiet place of reflection and hope. Such stories reaffirm humanity's desire to rise above even the most unimaginable pain. The fight against terrorism requires more than just combating attacks. It demands prevention. Addressing root causes such as poverty, lack of education, political oppression, and online radicalization are key in cutting off the lifeblood extremism thrives on. The digital age, while a tool for connective harmony, has also become a battlefield. Terrorist organizations exploit social media and encrypted communication to spread propaganda and recruit followers. Governments and tech companies worldwide are now working to dismantle these networks, though the challenge remains monumental. Yet there is hope in examples of success. De-radicalization programs in countries like Norway and Saudi Arabia work to rehabilitate former extremists by integrating them back into society, offering alternative paths to hatred and violence. The dark days of terrorism teach us one grim truth: division and extremism can wreak untold devastation. Yet these tragedies also remind us of humanity's resilience, unity, and determination to make the world a safer place. As history enthusiasts, it is our responsibility to remember not just the events, but also the lessons they leave behind. From the ashes of tragedy, we must find ways to foster cooperation across nations, build bridges where there is division, and prioritize understanding over hatred. In many ways, terrorism seeks to cripple the human spirit, but as long as we reflect, remember, and respond, humanity will always rise, stronger, wiser, and more united than before. This exploration of terrorism's darkest days is not simply a chronicle of violence. It is a call to action and a reminder of the cost of extremism. By looking back, we hope to shape a future where such days happen no more. Let us never forget.